Welcome to mypersonalfootballcoach.com's Soccer Player Development Podcast. Discover all the secrets, hints and tips about soccer player development and soccer coaching from some of the leading figures in world soccer. Here's your host, Saul Isaacson Hurst.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to another show. This week's guest is Dan Holman. Dan is an individual striker coach. Dan I've known for many, many years. Actually did a session with him when he was still playing pro. He transitioned into one-to-one coaching, specialising in forward play particularly. Tag name on Instagram, you can catch him, it's called Goalman. Dan's a class act really, known him for a long time. He's an interesting backstory as well in terms of he worked his way up. Didn't go through the conventional academy football, worked really hard to make it into professional football, and now is a very, very successful individual striker coach. Got a massive following on social media. And he's also one of the specialists that I talk to get some hints and tips for my new one-to-one coaches training course. So you can remember, if you're a one-to-one coach or you're interested in individual development, you can check that out. I'll leave the info in the description, and don't forget our 20% discount code as well for podcast listeners only. I'll put that in the description also as well. But yeah, like I say, Dan is a class act and a real good deep dive into individual striker play. Fits into our working with forwards we've been talking about for many episodes. But yeah, another one, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So welcome back to another MPFC Coach Player Development podcast, joined by Glen Hicks. Glen, how you doing?
Good, mate. A bit sun-kissed, nearly as red as my t-shirt, but I'm doing well, mate.
I know, mate. It's hard to differentiate you there. If you're watching
on
YouTube, you might
big
see
red
that.
blur.
But very special guest this week. Please have on the show Dan Holman, hashtag Goalman, the Goalman. Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, great. Thanks, all.
Glad to have you on. We've known each other for a few years, actually, quite a few years, and it's really good to see your progress. A combination of like next gen coaches, and also you're a striker coach, a forward coach. Get you on to talk about coaching the forward players and supporting players to score goals. Before we get into that, I always ask my guests, give us a brief outline of your playing and coaching journey up to this point.
Yeah, well, playing journey was, never at an academy, so never a sort of main man in my team growing up. There was always someone else. Didn't get many opportunities, and just sort of grafted my way through every step of the non-league. And then at 24, signed for Colchester in League One at the time. Got to the National League at about 22, couple of years there, and then sort of League Two, mainly National League. Bit in League, few appearances in League One, but managed to play sort of 8-10 years in the lower leagues. And that was me, striker, and then finished my career. Obviously, being in the lower levels, always a bit of it's always over your head. What am I going to do next? I wasn't too sure. And then I think, as we're seeing now in the individual sort of player coaching business, I just thought, I know football. I know I can coach lads. I feel like I'm a good lad and been through a lot. So just went down that avenue and found my sort of area in helping people score goals, because I'm pretty passionate. That's what took me to where I got to. If I hadn't scored goals, I wouldn't have got seen. I wouldn't have got to the next level. I've gone down that alley, and now we've got centre in Northampton. I've moved over to Dubai, doing it in Dubai, and then soon to be opening one up in Scotland. So that's where we're at the moment.
You didn't obviously grow up in the academy system. You didn't have that advantage of going through an academy. Tell us about learning the trade, learning the nuts and bolts of being a striker. You scored, you played at pro level, you worked your way up. Tell us about the things you had to pick up yourself and that learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, because I didn't really know any different, and I always just played up front. I wasn't necessarily rapid, or what I could do is use both feet. I got into the men's game very early, in terms of like maybe 15, playing at a real low level. Just learn how to sort of use my body, ride a tackle, hit shots from here, there and everywhere. And then the next team would want me. So I'd score, say, 20 goals or whatever level in the park. Then the next team would want me, and then I'd do the same. And then it got to a stage where I went actually for a trial at Histon, it was. And I was probably 19. I was against a load of lads that I guess had been at clubs and stuff. And at that stage, I just ran over them in terms of like physicality, aggression, wanting to score, wanting it. So I think probably technically, and as I moved up, like I'd just smack it from anywhere at this stage. So like as I moved up, managers were sort of like, Dan, you can't just shoot from wherever you want. So I had to sort of learn and take and be a bit more sort of, thoughtful with my runs and my finishing. But it was just sort of self-education. I used to watch a lot of players. I used to watch Suarez and Aguero all the time, their runs. I used to watch players that were similar to me in terms of physicality and position that I felt like I could try and aspire to be with my runs and my movement. And genuinely, I say this to a lot of players now, like I was grateful for every level I played at. I never thought, I should be here. Like I would treat, step 3 as my Etihad when I was watching Aguero and be excited to go and play in it. And I think that helped me because I think people could see that when I played. People could see that, I was up for every game and I wanted to do well in every game. And I wasn't ever sort of looking like I was sort of bothered or I should be at a higher level.
Can you remember anything specifically? You said you're watching Suarez and other strikers like that. Tell us about those individual tactics I talk about a lot. Those that you notice. Can you remember like pointing at things you saw on TV, on games? And you think, that's interesting. In terms of tell us about that.
I think back in the day there was runs like staying offside. Suarez used to do a lot, sort of just hovering in that offside position and then getting back onside and making those runs that stood out in the non-league at the time. Even with you, Saul, I remember you opening my eyes up a little bit when I come and work with you. Not just saying it because we're here, but the ways to draw people in and chop people because they had 2 good feet. That helped me a lot in terms of like cutting on the outside and cutting on the inside to get onto my left or right foot. Again, Suarez was great at it. Really, the way Aguero used to sort of slow people down in the box. I teach a lot of players this now, where he'd receive it on his back foot and almost draw the defender across a bit because he knew he had that low centre of gravity to just, if he shifted it, the defender's never getting back in. So I used to work on that a lot, where I'd almost peel on the angle, receive it from the midfielder. Instead of going down the line with it, take it on my back foot, let the defender come across, and then that shift bang. And honestly, why I'm so passionate about what I do now is because it genuinely helped me. Like I regularly got these opportunities in games and was able to score or saves and corners or get my momentum up in a game, get my confidence up through self work. And it wasn't like where we have 3 Gs on every corner now. It was down at the park. It was wherever I could find. I used to drive 2 hours when I was at Braintree from Northampton to train, and we used to train in poles and there was hardly any light or whatever. I'd stay out, do extras. So I really do believe that you can find a way. It's just finding your own way.
Did you get much coaching, specific, that technical, tactical work with the coaches you were working with? Was there time to do that? Was there, do you know what I mean? No. Honest, and that's no disrespect to the managers I had. It was, turn up, play. If you're not at it, you're not playing 5-a-side in training. But I was always of that. I used to watch a lot of the American sports growing up, and then there was like Hard Knocks or something in the NFL, and I used to always love the individual sort of quarterback coaching, and so I'd always be doing my extra stuff throughout the week, and I tried to always treat it very seriously. I wouldn't go out on a Friday night when I was just in the step 5. I wouldn't be going out as a lot of lads would go out. I always had that professional mindset about myself. That helped me. But in terms of technical, tactical, when I went to Histon, we were full time, and it was Dave Livermore and Omar Reza at the time, and they were great. They opened my eyes to they had a mix of sort of old school in terms of being tough and having to play the non-league way, but also a bit of
modern with the tactics and the way we played, and they were, you know, a lot more forward thinking than I'd had before, and that had a massive impact on me because they sort of, I thought I was at my pinnacle when I went there in the Conference North. I thought, this is unbelievable, and they were sort of like, you know, you won't be here long, and that made me think, oh my days, like I could actually have a go here. But no, in terms of my own, I did pretty much do it just off what I thought was best.
And then tell us about that, then your transition to becoming a one-to-one coach, a striker specialist coach. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started just coaching. Like I said, I needed some money after playing football. You know, I was only in the lower league, so I wasn't ever retiring on that. And just used. I went and played for, again, like a real low team because they gave me the facility for free. It was just a grass pitch. If I played for them, they'd give me the facility for free. So I used that. Just started coaching the kids, and then started to get some lads that were maybe like, you know, 40, looking for scholarships, that sort of stuff. And I feel like all the work I'd done, all the sort of mentality that I'd built, I just sort of started passing it over in terms of, like, you know, if you get more goals and you start adding goals to your game, and you start thinking about, you know, your runs and how many shots on target you can try and get in a game, you're going to stand out. And that's a big thing that I say to all the players now, like, right, have you got your sort of mini metrics within a game? So whatever's going on in the game, whether you're losing 4-0, winning 4-0, have you got a sort of little tick sheet in your head that if I get these numbers off, then it's going to lead to success for me? And, like, especially for the attackers, I knew for myself, if I got 3 shots on target in a game, 1 would go in. Whether I rocketed 1 in the top corner, 1 come off my shin, or the keeper dropped 1, if I got 3 on target, 1 would go in. Now, some lads are better than finishers than me. Maybe they only need 2. I needed 3, but it might sometimes take me 6 shots to get 3 on target. But if I had always had that in my head, even if I didn't get them, my intent within a game, my runs, my movement, the way I would look to the outside like, oh, he's got something about him. And I feel like that helped me. You never know who's watching, as everyone knows. Like, there's always people watching, whether it's non-league or academy players, whatever it is, the age group above are watching. I feel like that internal script is something that I've really pushed with the players, and trying to get them thinking, even some midfielder, like, can I get in the box? You might not get it. You know, looking at Bellingham, people like that, you might not get the ball, but if you've got that tick sheet, right, every time it went wide, arrived in the box, looking at their huddle clips, 10 times, got 2 chances, didn't score. I've got to get 3 chances to score, got 3 chances, scored. And once they find these metrics for themselves, then they start to perform. And luckily, the lads I've worked with have really kicked on, the ones who I've had regularly. There's a balance of, you see all the technical stuff on Instagram, but it's a bit of a balance for me of the technical and the mental.
What's happening, everyone? I hope you're enjoying the show. Just a quick one to tell you about my new one-to-one coaches training course. If you're a one-to-one coach or you're interested in individual development, I've created a course specifically for you. So not only does this break down how to structure one-to-one courses in terms of the methodology and the ideas behind it, it also gives you a full library of sessions with myself and Premier League players, academy players, grassroots players. Not only that, if you're interested in starting a business or developing your social media, I give you tips on these areas, as well as asking some of the top practitioners in the game. So some of the top one-to-one coaches I know, not only in academy and pro football, but also in private football as well. You get your advice in that. Now, if you're interested in that, you can also check out an exclusive 20% discount offer for this course as well. This is very exclusive and for a short time only. Check it out. It's one-to-one coach 20 off. You can get exclusive discount. Just follow the information in the bio to check out the new course. There's nothing else like it in the world. The first course for one-to-one coaches. And this is approved, remember, to take players to the Premier League. Check out the information and check out this very exclusive discount, which will not last for long. But without further ado, let's get into the show.
It's brilliant to hear. It's brilliant to hear your story, Dan, as well, mate. Because Richard Kone's a good one, isn't he? Recently, he went from Newham Athletic at step 5. Wickham. Where's he just got that QPR he's just signed for? And I think, you know, the forward he got. Yeah, so he went from Newham Athletic. He came over here, played for like the homeless team or something. Went to Newham Athletic at 17, 18, gone the non-league route like you. Got picked up by Wycombe. 1 year there scoring goals. Young Player of the Year in League One with Wycombe.
That's great.
Just signed at QPR. It's fantastic. And I'm passionate about this as well, because as well as the academy stuff, I work at the college, and we've just had a lad, 17, he's just signed pro for Dundee United from our college programme. But there's loads of them, and I'm pushing them to step 5, step 4, and I'm just saying, just get out there and play. If you're a teenager
100%.
and you're playing non-league football, I'm constantly saying to them, just get out there and play. If you're on a men's football pitch, you're in the game, you're in that football pyramid. But a lot of them don't really know about the structures in the football pyramid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they just see this. Yeah, they just see, like, I suppose this day and age, like, so many players say, well, is it too late if I'm not in an academy? I'm like, you know, just try and play as high as you can. Like, who knows where it'll lead you? Do you know what I mean? You play step 5 and you get to step 4, that might be your level, but you still might have a great time playing at that sort of level, and like, who knows where you can go.
Saul's just texted me and said, just crack on, he's just lost a connection. He can copy it, like chop it and everything anyway, yeah, so
great.
I'll just take over for him, and I'll be a poorer version of the host.
That's great.
Right, so I'll just pick it up from there, from the question. So you was talking about your football background, wasn't it?
I was just saying about the coaching and the way I sort of do it.
All right, yeah, I'll come in there. Yeah, Dan, it's great to hear. There's a lot of things that align. We had Bradley Allen on recently talking about the goal scoring and stuff, and it's great to hear things that align with him. Like one of the very first things you said there, because your profile is clearly not like a fast player, and it's good for coaches to listen to this as well about maximising your profile and the fact that you started watching players that look like you, move like you. And the first thing you said straight away was two-footedness. You're talking about how much you're grafting, and like, do you know what I mean? It's a craft. Becoming a goal scorer, people think, oh, he's just got natural goal scoring ability, and I find that quite lazy and a little bit disrespectful to top goal scorers, how much work goes into it at times also. It's really refreshing to hear that it's aligned with what Bradley's saying and most goal scorers. There's a lot of work that goes in, and we've been doing this series on goal scoring because is there a dearth of number 9s is a question we keep asking. Is there enough number 9s in world football at the minute, or at every level? I know in non-league, you would have seen it in non-league as well. If you're scoring 20 goals, you're precious, and like you say, that's what got you your moves, wasn't it, Dan? And what in terms of your stuff that you do now with the players that you work with, in terms of your coaching structure now, what do you put in place? So I don't know, if someone comes along there at step 2 non-league, how do you fill the gaps to help them jump up, and like with your advice from your own experience? You know what I mean, in terms of like session structure and content?
Yeah, so we have a curriculum that sort of I've built at Goldman. We have left hand side of the box, centre of the box, right hand side of the box. So no matter where you sort of are in those front 4 positions, when you find yourself in those areas, and you know, I think with goal scoring, there's millions of ways to score a goal. We just try and look at some repeatable skills, techniques, situations that seem to come up regularly for left, right wingers, strikers, 10s, 8s, and put them in those situations with our drill. So if you came into a Goldman session, for example, you're gonna, you know, like you see everywhere, it's a passing pattern, and then that will lead into a situation. So it might be a cross goal finish, and we'll just let the lads, you know, finish, and then we'll start to see where they're going wrong, or then we'll get to them to chop and finish, and we'll start to see maybe are they lacking the athleticism to actually get off their feet and change direction quickly? Are they dragging it with their weak foot, or all the different things that we've sort of studied? And we'll just have a bit of a coaching cues of like 3 points in each little area of like, okay. And I feel like we don't try and coach every single nuance within the finish, because everyone's got their own ways of finishing. Even though on social media, you know, we show little things of little tweaks and techniques, but we try and let them figure it out for themselves. But what I've found is, a lot of times, and I found this as a player as well, sometimes it's just a mental cue that the player needs to get, especially when they're technically, you know, I'm not talking about a 10-year-old that needs to, if they're at a level, sometimes it's just a little mental cue as your head's down, you're about to hit that one, that you can rely on. That's what I find has helped a lot of players, and it helped me. So whether that is, I know when I'm in this position, I've been running fast. This is for the weak foot. On the left foot, I say a lot. I just need to point everything at the goal because I know I'm going to lose a bit of balance and it's going to drag across goal a little bit. And some people might have a better left foot than me, but I knew if I was running down that left channel and I'd pushed it past the defender and that keeper's coming across to the front post, if I just made sure I hit the target, I'd get a bit of drift in it. And the amount of goals I scored that flashed across the front and nestled in, and everyone's like, what a finish, Dan, on your left foot. And I'm thinking, I've dragged that. But I knew I was going to drag it. So just going to give them these, and sometimes you smash it down the keeper's throat and he saves it. But that's just an example. But we try and just give a few little mental, technical cues that people can rely on. Another one I use a lot is when people are chopping to open up the goal, just viewing it as almost like a cross across the box rather than a whip finish. Because they'll come in, they'll drop their shoulder and they're trying to take the top corner off, or they're trying to, and you know, when that cue of like, start it outside the post and bring it back in.
Almost like that little shape of that pass into the corner.
Yeah, so I always use the cue of like, the ball where the sort of channel of uncertainty, where if you're a right winger and you leave it behind the defenders and in front of the keeper, that sort of shaped ball that people play. I try and tell the lads, right, you've chopped inside, imagine you're running down the right wing and you're just leaving it across the box. And because most lads have been on the end of those crosses or played those crosses, I try and say to them, it's more of a relaxed technique. You're not smashing it across the box. You're just leaving it in there. Yeah. These are just a few examples of sort of, we put them in this situation from the experience of, obviously, as you know, coaching loads of lads, try and give them a few little frameworks to change maybe their perception of the situation, and then sometimes you have to tweak it and different things work for different people, but just trying to give them those little thoughts in the last minute to get the right connection. Get the right connection. And most players, so obviously, like say if you're a winger or a striker, whatever, you do get in similar situations, again, depending on the style of player you are, regularly throughout a season. So if I can give these lads an understanding of when you're in this situation, think about this. And maybe they, instead of changing their mind 6 times in the season and scoring 1, they know what they want to do. Keeper might save 2, I might put 1 wide, I might score 3 of them. And then over the long haul, it's just staying focused in those areas. But also, what's important, sorry Glenn, what's important is like balancing that with not making them a robot and letting them, use their creativity and reverse it when they need to reverse it, or take an extra touch but just giving some framework to what they're doing, again, because it allows them to be a little bit calmer in the last moment rather than changing my mind, erratic, dragging it, I should have done this, should have done that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. There's a little video that's popped around about Savinho, and there was this stat that come up. I thought it was a bit harsh on Savinho, but I didn't realise he scored 1 goal in 55 shots, which equates to about 1.something%. But then so if you look at his profile coming in on the left like that, Mahrez, Robben, or who's the best in the world at the minute is Lamine Yamal. And the thing that blows me away personally about Lamine Yamal is the stuff that you're talking about. Is first of all, I think he's like Messi in terms of he doesn't refuse the opportunity to shoot. And then when, that little jinking inside, he goes through that little corridor there. It always opens up. The back 4 drop off, and then you get that little corridor between the lines corridor where, like Robin, I can see it now. He comes in. But what he's doing these little shifts and shimmies to wait for the smallest opportunity to score. And he doesn't refuse it. I think his timing is exceptional in terms of, there's the opportunity through his legs, or there's the opportunity between 2 bodies there. That goal the other night was a perfect example. The one where he comes in, he's looked once, he's looked twice, and then he's absolutely thumped it in the top corner like Robin. And maybe, and when I watch Savinho do it, he's missing them opportunities. Maybe there's things there, like he's maybe not, in terms of perception, like you're saying about, you've got to have a certain eye for a goal, and knowing what space is enough space. Do you know what I mean? When is the moment to sense it? Because I see a lot of people, a lot of wingers, I look at them and I go, there was a chance there, there was a chance there, there was a chance there, and then they want this big chance that never really comes, like the 2 yards of space. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think off the back of that, Glenn, I think it's a lot about that feeling the momentum of the defenders. Like when you come inside, for example, and are the best, like Lamine Yamal, for example, it's almost like he can feel how much those defenders are coming across with their pace. And if I have an extra touch, he's moving. He can't decelerate, and I can just guide it. Or, I step inside, they're quite set here. I might need an extra one to go around them. I feel like they feel the flow almost of the keeper and the defenders, maybe in their peripheral vision. And some get in, don't really take that into account and just hit it and hit bodies, and they haven't got that as high a level of feel of that flow and momentum.
It's like what you said about Aguero, like that stop start or slow them down, quick shift and finish. So
no, you crack on, mate. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So apologies, I had some technical issues, but I seem to be back. So you guys crack on.
Yeah. So in terms of the structure of your sessions, then Dan, how much? So you just do it individually in terms of they present themselves. So there might be a tension issue, there might be a psychological thing, like you were saying, or a concentration thing. Do you just literally do it bespoke and just because it's individual based stuff, you meet them where they are, kind of thing?
I have two different things really. So we have a structure as a business. So we have like a membership where we have small groups of 3 to 4 players when we're working on combinations and then into the finishing curriculum, and we're sort of getting the reps and coaching. So we have that, and then the players that come to me are usually more one-to-one, maybe at a certain level where they're trying to kick on. And what I'll do is I have an understanding of watch their clips and see sort of what positions they're getting in. Then I'll obviously let them do their thing, see if I can pick up anything that I feel like. I'll put them in a session where they're sort of having to do the things that I think are important for that position and finishing the certain areas, and then just see what they do. Like see what they do when they're fresh, see what they do when they've made a couple of runs before the finish. Do they lose a bit of balance? Do they try and over wrap it and then lose that calmness? When I put a bit of pressure, I think that's great. Like I'll always do like a little competition of some sort with a forfeit on the end of it, just to try and create. I have loads of different ways to try and create a bit of pressure in that individual setting, because at the end of the day, if there's no pressure, when you beat someone or chop someone and the crowd almost hold their breath a little bit, that space opens up. You think, this is my time. Can you stay calm and just pass it? If you've just missed the finish and you've got a box to box, if you miss the next one, can you hold your nerve and finish it? So try and create little things like that. But yeah, it's more if then, for example, I see them regularly missing a situation, I'll stop the session and we'll go into maybe a little bit more detail. And then, like I said, like a framework around that to try and give them it. So if they're wrapping it consistently nicely, I don't really want to go and touch that. I just want to let them, okay, that bit's good. Because you can, as you know, I don't want to put too many things in someone's mind. If they naturally, like Lamine Yamal, I'm not going to go in and tell him to start pretending to cross it. I'm just going to just enjoy him. So I think it's a balance of seeing where they might have some issues, putting them in a situation to try and find those, whether it's fatigue, whether it's not too much, but whether it's just like they've done a couple of runs in terms of a couple of passing to me, making a run in behind, checking back, then the chance comes. Are they still good? And just again, communicating with them. Do you get this chance a lot? Where do you find it goes? Oh yeah, I seem to drag it a lot in this area. Okay, have you thought about this? And when you, as you know, when you work with the good players, tell them it. Okay, I didn't think of it like that. Bang, bang. And it's great to see, because you think, okay, now he's got it. And then some need a little bit more.
Yeah, it's like a eureka moment, isn't it? Like a coaching eureka moment. You can almost visibly see it when something like that clicks. And like you said, you probably would have had it yourself. You paid compliments to Saul just a minute ago about the cutting and stuff. You only know what you know, right? And when you do know, you almost have these little light bulb moments, don't you? You go, okay, and once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you probably don't do things the old way you've done before. But what's interesting is what you said about the constraints there, because I think with finishing, sometimes even if you've got a small group of 1, 2 or 3, not the team stuff, not the usual team stuff, we're all working as a group, how you put constraints on it is really interesting, because when you've got a big group, the constraints are a little bit easier. Like, I don't know, something as simple as we're all playing one touch, fellas, or we want to speed the speed of foot up, so we're playing one touch. There's the reasoning, blah blah blah. With the one-to-one stuff and the goal scoring stuff, I sometimes feel like the pressure could be in terms of, for example, finishing when you're tired. Like you say, at 93rd minute, scoring a goal in the 93rd minute, I believe psychologically is different to scoring in the first minute or the 25th minute, because it becomes about that concentration. You might have just had cramp in the 80th minute, but then you've got to hang in there. So you almost want to create them conditions, like at the end of the session when they think it's all over, actually we're going to do another 20 balls, and this is why. It's more about your attention. It's about being able to perform when you're fatigued. And I know sports science will go mad about, red zones and you don't want to tear their rec fem or their groins or their hips, but that is the reality of football. And even putting things like saying, you've got 5 shots, to put jeopardy on it with kids even, you say, right, this is what we're going to do, here's the game, me versus you. If you miss, you get 5 shots is all you get. If you miss the target, you've lost that shot. If you score a goal, you've earned another shot. So if the kid starts with 5 shots and he smashes one in the corner or slides one in the corner, whatever finish it is, okay, you've now got 6 shots, so you've earned another shot. So then the competition then becomes with themselves, and they zoom in on a bit more precision, because if you miss 5 in a row, that's it. Practice is over. Your practice lasted 2 minutes.
You're fuming.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like It's like that whole golf ball thing, isn't it? If you just go, right, I've got a bucket of 50 balls, well, you're just gonna smash the first 40, and then you might think, oh, my bucket's nearly run out. I'll start focusing now.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any tricks like that with your session design in terms of how you put constraints on or conditions, change the conditions for the players?
Yeah, 100%. So exactly like we always finish with a competition. I try and never have more than 4 finishes per round, in terms of like, I don't want them hitting 20, because I feel like you just said about the golf balls, there's a bit of a lack of care. And like, if we're going to do 4 of these, you're going to shift it, you're going to whip it, you're going to do 4. And then looking back at it, okay, how did that go? Yeah, okay, I got 1 out of 4, okay, not good. Or 3 out of 4, okay, we're looking good. I try not to go, yes, next one, because I feel like they can lose it. And then we always, like you just said, Glenn, some sort of competition to add that element of pressure, add that element of competition. Like there's one in terms of like, every time you score, your points go down. So you start with like 13 points or 14 points, something like that. Well, top corner 4 points, bottom corner 2 points, middle of it, whatever. And they have to, in as little of shots as possible, like not go bust basically, and get the right. So just loads of different ways to get them thinking, get them positioning it, have a bit of pressure. Like if you miss 2 in a row, because your score goes up, you can't hit 20, it's just like, you can't get to 20, you've got to get down to 0 as quick as you can. You miss 2 on a bounce, I can't afford to miss this one, otherwise I'm out.
Yeah. I'm making mental notes here. So I want you to come in as well to help us out. What little tricks do you do there to add that pressure element to the session?
That jeopardy, that's what we want, isn't it? That
jeopardy. Yeah, that kind of,
I suppose it's easier when you've got more than one player, isn't it? Because you've got that natural competition.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I think you find like a lot of stuff I did in the off season with the pro players. I was lucky, like a lot of them came in 2s, like So it's almost that natural competition, and they don't want to lose. So you have that sort of inbuilt, isn't it? I suppose with the when you're working players by yourself, it's more difficult. But I think the point you made about technical fatigue is really important. Especially with the better players, and stressing them to, for example, I do a lot of drills. It might be like a 3-phase drill, like 3 finishes in one. High intensity to add a bit more, contextual interference, or a bit more, intensity, a bit more, internal competition. So can you get a hat trick? Do you know what I mean? Or can you get 3 on target there? That sort of thing. So rather than a set of 1, you do 3 different finishes and that sort of thing, to try and overload them a bit, to add a bit of intensity to the session, because of especially with the better players, you need that. I suppose that's the key in how you're going to get those tweaks when you're working just individually with players.
I think as well on that, like when you do them sort of 3-4 shot combos, what I find is like, if you put the one you really want at the end, so say it's like he's got to run his step over, push it down the line, left foot across goal. Then he's coming into feet for that little backwards angle whip. Then you've got to check out. And then the last one's that, cut back, or, one of them really annoying techs coming across your body last minute. They're a bit fatigued, legs. And then you want to see what they do in there. Do they just go a bit floppy and, like legs are gone, I don't care? Or are they locked in, bang? that shows a bit of that mental aspect for me as well. And I think, you know, you see the players that are like, bang, deadly, like, and I think, yeah. And then you see the ones that are sort of like, don't care about it. And for me, that's an element of like, right, like you said, Glenn, about the sports science, I'm all for it. Like, I love that side of it. But I'm also, especially in season, I think you've got to manage the load and that they have to feel good. But at the same time, and I know this might be a little bit old school, you need to develop some sort of grit and determination, and I will run in the last minute and stick my head in there to try and get a goal. Like, because in like my journey, you have to be able to do that. And you have to have that mentality. And the top players that I've trained, I haven't trained anywhere near as many as you guys, but like, they've got that. You know, I trained one recently, just a young Brazilian lad, and I'll be honest, like in the normal, he weren't great until I did a competition, and then he was unbelievable. So it was like, you know, we've got to somehow try and build that grit, determination, I want this mentality in them as well. And also, because if you haven't, I was just saying, if you haven't worked it,
just Bradley Allen was on a couple of shows before you, talk about the same thing. How you talk about building that robustness and that, you know, that sort of, you know, that endurance, or that sort of the quality, like even in your groins and your movement patterns, like you say, like, you know, building that. And also that thing about players, you know, you're going to work hard, you're going to do more, and it obviously it's always talk about loading, but you know, that intrinsic mechanism, we call it, that, you know, if I'm going to work, I work harder, I get better. Do you know? I mean, put some extra work on the pitch. Something goes wrong, we're not doing well. You know, don't moan about it. Get back on the pitch and, you know, put it right. I mean, that's got to be key, right?
And also, you link it to like, this is another topic, but like, okay, let's talk about the load and all that. But then the majority of these young lads are going home and eating crap and not sleeping well and on TikTok for 3 hours in bed. So we can do all the recovery we want and you know, take away from their load. But if they're not living right off the pitch, I'd rather them bit of grit, bit of determination, maybe do an extra few reps and feel like they've pushed themselves, and then give them some protocols off the pitch and some education around, okay, some habits, and they take pride in that as well to get better and recover better. And now I think they go in the next day with, I've worked hard, I've done more than everyone else. I'm going on a tangent here, but I also think there's a big thing on a mental element of like, I've been away from my club, I've been in my little zone where I'm getting better, I'm taking pride in my own performance and my own improvement, because clubs will drop these lads as quick as they build them up. Do you know what I mean? Like, in the nicest possible way. Like, if you're not good enough, you're going to move on. And they need to, if they go from, you know, a Cat 1 academy to the non-league or to somewhere with nowhere near as good of facilities, they've got to rely on that. I'm going to get down the park now. I'm going to stay after a session now. And if they've already built those skills, they're in a good place to go again. If they haven't, that's when, for me, it gets very difficult for them to... I can only imagine. You know, I was always grateful for a better pitch, and I'd get to step 2 and they'd be like, some lads would be like, this is rubbish. Like, I'm thinking, this is like absolute Wembley. There was a duck on the pitch last week.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, I think there's a, like, it's got to be a balance of the technical, the load, and the mental to try and everyone's different, obviously, but to try and get the most out of them.
But I think there's a really good message there for you, for not just kids but all coaches as well. I really still do believe, especially when people have worked at professional football clubs and the prestige of the badge and all the commercial hype around football nowadays, as you know, I think there is still a hell of a lot of football snobbery, and it's refreshing to hear. I know it's almost like that poor man, rich man thing, isn't it? Like, you know, would a billionaire be able to live the life of a poor man? I don't know how challenging that would be, but would the poorest man on the planet? Well, of course they could. Do you know what I mean? If you've gone through such hardship and struggles, or like you've gone through park football, I think you said, didn't you, Dan? To actually seen every level, like you say, you've got nothing but gratitude, and I think that in itself is, I think that's a mindset. I think Harry Kane's got it. I think, and I'm not just talking goal scorers, I'm just talking players in general. So, and the reason I wanted to pounce on that, Dan, as well, is because we are actually developing that human element in our young players is the catalyst for a hell of a lot of the boys that go on to reach the pinnacle, whether the pinnacle is for like you, League One, League Two, which is a fantastic career, or step three. Step three for some boys would be incredible, knowing that actually when you looked at them at 16, they might have been, like you said, a grassroots footballer or a Sunday League footballer.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important message for all coaches, and that about what levels they're at. And I've got a little saying with the young ones as well. You don't have to be a professional to do things professionally. And that's just about what you said. Develop them professional habits. Develop the stuff that you sounded obsessed about, the craft, the obsessively watching Aguero and Suarez sound like your favourite two. And I think that's an important point to really hammer home there with the coaches in terms of what message are we giving our kids, and have they got that humility and gratitude and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, you know, we all start playing football because we love playing football. I know that like there's a lot of this path to pro and make a pro, and like I'm all for it because of my journey. Like I believe you can do it, but also it's not just about that. It's about playing as high a level as you can possibly play. And if that ends up being step three, great. Like you're looking after yourself, you're dedicated. Just like my journey now, if I wasn't dedicated, committed, doing those things, I wouldn't be able to have the passion and dedication that I've had success with in this football coaching area. So it's all transferable anyway, in my opinion. Like if you give it everything and go after your goals, there's going to be a residual effect of what happens in the rest of your life. And I think, you know, that message to all young players is like, go for it. Try and be the best you can be. If you love football, go and try and be the best footballer, even if that leaves you at step 6. You see a lot of academy, I've been played in step 6, and you see a lot of academy players that have been at an academy playing, walking round like, I shouldn't be here. Like, you know, I was at this club, I was at that club, I was the next bit. And it's sad to see. You know what I mean? Like, if they'd have had that mentality, they'd be enjoying their football, playing. Oh, maybe I can play at step 5, earn an extra 40 quid next season. Just having that growth mindset of like, let's see what the best version of me on the pitch can be.
Dan, let's go on just like we're going to talk about. Obviously, you've moved to Dubai recently, so let's go on to that. Just before we do, obviously, say, look, you started this company in England, really successful, got a massive social media following. You created this business from nothing to one-to-one coaching. Just before we go into the Saudi, just to let everybody know back, if you're listening, that Dan's also one of the special guests I interviewed to get the lowdown about individual coaching for my new one-to-one training course for individual coaches. You can follow the link in the bio, like Dan and many other top coaches I rate around the world who are top one-to-one coaches. We talk about his business development and his social media development and how he got started a bit more. But to go back onto the Saudi one now, because we've got to focus on our time here. Talk about that. Excuse me, Dubai. What I say?
Yeah.
Talk about you moved to Dubai. Tell about what triggered that, and obviously tell us about that. And then, you know, starting up your new stuff from scratch in Dubai and the sort of challenges you've had since then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always had that mindset of like, I want to experience what the world's got to offer. Like I've got 2 young kids, so I also, you know, wanted to for their safety, their upbringing, their lifestyle. I really wanted to give them something a bit different. But from a football point of view, you know, it's a bit of a risk because you know, it's not as developed football in terms of the you know, standard that it is here in the UK. So we built the centre here, up to 5-6 coaches here in England working from our curriculum like we spoke about. And then I just decided, you know, Dubai's got a lot to offer in terms of, you know, profile of people out there, players out there. I know there's a lot of kids pretty similar to myself in terms of like, they might not be the best now, but they want to go and do like an American scholarship, or they want to try and come to Europe because they're maybe, you know, they're better than, you know, your average player, but maybe they're not got these top clubs after them like we have in England. So I felt like it fit my sort of area of expertise well, and that's happened. You know, we've gone out there, we've got the site running here, we've gone out to Dubai, we've had you know, a good amount of, which would be nice for me that I've managed to build a brand that I went to Dubai and had quite a lot of interest in terms of players of all sort of different levels. I'd probably say that sort of 14 to 18-year-old that reached out, that came in, and then also, in the off season, not just the big pros, because and this is no disrespect to anyone, but I feel like, I like to try and build a relationship with the players. I know you have done, Saul, with the players you've worked with, even if they are top players, where it's not about just coming and running around some poles and having a session and sticking it on social media. But of course, you're going to do that if they come to you. But I really want people to come to me because they've seen what I do, because they feel it's going to benefit even if it's like just they're in Dubai for a week and they come for 3 or 4 sessions, and we give them some ideas and concepts, and then continue to stay in communication throughout the season. And we had a lot of that. Some, lads from, first, second year pros, just on the edge of the first team, that we all wouldn't maybe know their names, but that have come out to get some sessions in while they're on holiday. And that's been great as well. And we're now staying in communication of how they're doing in pre-season with the first team on their tours. Are they scoring? We check in with their habits every day, just like we spoke about now. So it's been great, because no disrespect to Northampton, I love it, it's my hometown, but they weren't coming to Northampton to see me. I've lost you, haven't I, guys? Can you hear me? I got you.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, really inspiring. Actually, look, making that big step in your career. Obviously, also, you established a really successful business here, but inspiring, I think. I've seen you. Obviously, I was out there doing some stuff at the club out there. We met up, and it was good to see what great environment. Must be like lifestyle. I imagine for the kids is good, and that sort of thing. Tell us about that. All the things around the business and the coaching.
Yeah. So obviously, with every business, I feel like it's difficult. And I'm with 2 young kids. I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old boy and girl. Like, I'm very conscious of their environment and their surroundings and who they're around and the information they're given. So like, I'm also homeschooling them. So that's another big challenge me and my wife have got, that we've put on our hands as well. So we just felt like that was a good environment for us to be able to do what we're doing on the pitch, helping players, but then also have that balance of, that time we have with them is present time. I think any, dad, or you're running around left, right, especially in the football world, like sessions, driving to sessions, equipment everywhere, watching games, client, all that sort of stuff. We just wanted to find that balance, which we're still obviously working on, but we felt like Dubai was a good place to try and develop that. And my goal is to try and get some Goldmans around the world, if we can. We've got one in England. We've got one in Scotland, hopefully coming soon. Just with that attacking mindset of getting players to think on the front foot and believe in themselves and go score goals and have shots and enjoy their football, really, whilst getting better. So that's where we're at the minute. Knowing me, I could be anywhere in the next year. I could be somewhere else. So who knows?
Well, watch this space. Dan Holman, goal man. Thank you very much, mate. It's been top.
Appreciate it. So appreciate it, Glenn.
Cheers, Dan. Take care, mate. Good luck.